Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Living Debt Free. Each week we come together and we talk about how we can actually live debt free. Each time together we talk about the importance of having a plan for your money and how that plan should include three pretty key components. I'll share those with you now. First thing your plan should include is a monthly written budget on paper, on purpose, where you sign every dollar a mission. The second part of your plan should include getting out of debt and staying out of debt. It's kind of a key component to living debt-free, wouldn't you say? And then the third component of the plan is to save and invest. And so what are we saving and investing for? Well, first, we want to save and invest for emergencies. We also want to save and invest for purchases. And then lastly, we want to save and invest for building wealth and giving generously. And so tonight, I'd like to dive into the budget and take a look at how you can cut expenses so that you can find yourself getting out of debt quicker. So what I'm going to do here is share my budget with you. We'll take a look at December's budget and look at what the expenses look like nowadays. But I started the Dave Ramsey plan about 18 months ago, and so I'll share with you what expenses we used to have and how we started to cut expenses. Because here's the thing, when you are working diligently towards becoming debt-free and living a debt-free lifestyle, there's two ways you can expedite that process. The first is you can raise your income, and the second is you can cut your expenses. And obviously, cutting expenses is probably a little bit easier than raising your income. Although you can take on a second job or sell things around the house or do those types of things, cutting your expenses is going to be a lot easier to do. And for me, I found that when I was working a budget that wasn't what Dave Ramsey calls a zero-based budget, and I wasn't giving every single dollar an assignment, money seemed to go missing. I didn't know how much I was spending on certain areas or in certain categories. And so I think it's really important that you look at your budget, you put it on paper, and you start to stare at what do I spend money on every single month. And that way you'll start to realize a couple of things. One, there might be some things that you don't need to be spending money on. Or two, the things you are spending money on that you need to, you might just be spending more than you need. So like I said, I'd like to dive back into the structure of a monthly budget and take a look at what the expenses look like nowadays and what the expenses used to look like, and see how much money we ended up saving and trimming out of our monthly budget. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen with you. We're going to take a look at the monthly budget. Like I said, we'll take a look at December here. So if you're new to the budgeting process and a zero-based budget specifically, I'll kind of recap real quick how you should go and categorize and prioritize your monthly budget. So if you take a look here, what we have for the month of December is we have two pay periods in the month of December, on the 12th and on the 26th. And so the first thing I'm going to track is, what is my income? What do I have coming in? Then you want to list all of your expenditures. And so I like to list all my expenditures in the order of priority. For my family and I, we like to give back to God what is God's. And so giving is a very important part of our budget. And the Bible talks about giving your first fruits, so the first 10% of your harvest, And so that's what we do. The very first thing we do is we give our tithes and our offerings. And then the next thing you should be doing is saving and investing. Now, if you're working Dave Ramsey's plan and the 7 baby steps, which I've covered in other videos and you can go check out for yourself, you're going to save up a $1,000 emergency fund, and then you're going to stop the saving process until you're out of debt. And it takes the average person anywhere between a year and a half to maybe 3 years to get out of debt. So you're going to press pause on any saving or investing while you're getting yourself out of debt, and then you'll resume saving and investing afterwards. My wife and I have our emergency fund in place, and so on a monthly basis, we don't allocate any money towards saving anything additional right now. Then you get into your true expenses. Right? So now we're taking a look at what does it cost me to kind of run my home and live my life on a month-to-month basis. And again, I think listing these in priority, listing these by importance is an important activity. I think it's important that you take care of yourself first, and Dave Ramsey calls it taking care of the 4 walls, and so that means providing food for yourself and the family, obviously putting a roof and keeping a roof over your head, so shelter and housing is the next most important thing. Then it doesn't make much sense to have a house without having some lights on, so let's keep the electricity on, let's keep the water running, and take care of those absolute necessities. And then to make sure that you continue to make an income, and if you have transportation expenses, it's important that you be able to get to and from work, and so obviously any costs associated with owning and maintaining vehicles or any other type of transportation. For my family and I, we think insurance is the next most important thing after the necessities, and so after our absolute needs are met, we make sure that we have insurance in place so that if anything were to happen, the other person is taken care of, or the kids are taken care of. Then we get into the more traditional kind of bills and monthly subscription stuff. So this is where you would find those expenses that you normally budget for outside the necessities, like your TV, your internet. If you have a home phone, a home phone. If you have cell phones, cell phones. Any other types of subscriptions you might have to like a gym membership, to Netflix, to anything, right? Any type of monthly subscription that you have, and you'll see that nowadays our list is pretty small. So my wife and I have cut a lot of extra expenditures out of the budget, and we've gotten it down to the internet, our cell phones, our daughter who does dance, our security system. The kids play on abcmouse.com for additional education, and we stream Hulu Plus instead of having cable or satellite. And so we've really gotten it down pretty bare bones, and we could still cut from that very easily. The next category being recreation, and so just you guys work hard for your money. You should have a little bit of pocket money to be able to go through the drive-through if you want to go through the drive-through, pick up little things here or there, but just have some fun money. And then we list our debts. We list our debts smallest to largest, and we attack the smallest with a vengeance, but we'll talk about getting out of debt a little bit more a little later on. So I really want to focus here on the expenses for a moment, and I want you to take notice that when I highlight these 6 expenses, we have a total of $232.28 going out monthly to what I like to call non-necessities. The internet's not a necessity, the cell phones are not a necessity, etc., etc. We could live life, we could wake up every morning and breathe and eat and do all those things without those things. They're nice to have, but they're not necessities. This category used to be a lot larger. About 18 months ago, I had additional expenses that totaled over $200 in this particular category. And those consisted of things like we used to monitor our credit through TrueCredit.com, and so we were both paying $10 a month for those subscriptions. And we used to have a Netflix account, and so we paid $8 for that subscription. And we had different cell phones that instead of paying $80.37 per month, we were paying more around $160 per month. And so it was about coming to this category and starting to identify things that we could either eliminate or reduce. And so we eliminated the credit monitoring, and we saved ourselves $20 a month by doing that. We eliminated Netflix, so we saved $8 by doing that. And it doesn't sound like a lot per item, but as you start to go down the list, it really starts to add up. I called the car insurance company, and after selling a second vehicle, I was able to save $35 a month on our car insurance. I called up our security company and told them I was going to leave, and they asked me why, and I said, well, I found a competitor who will do it for cheaper per month, and they price matched. So instead of paying $45 a month, I now pay $26 a month, saving myself $19. I called the satellite provider before we actually got rid of it, and when I was still in contract, I called them and let them know that I was unhappy with their price. I really liked their service, I really liked their programming, but I didn't like their price. And just by voicing that in a really friendly manner, they found me $30 worth of credits that they applied to my account every month, and I saved myself $30 a month with the satellite provider. And then, like I just said, the old cell phone company we were with, we were paying $156 a month. And when we made the switch, we actually got rid of a second cell phone, or the second cell phone, and we went down to a plan for $50 a month. Now, we've since gone back to 2 cell phones, and so it's $80 a month, but we've cut that bill in half. So 18 months ago, when we first looked at this particular category of bills and subscriptions, we were able to save ourselves $218 per month by either eliminating or reducing our expenses. What could you do with an extra $218 per month? As time went on, we started to pay off our debts, and so when we take a look at some of the debts we paid off, first thing we did, we sold my wife's car, so we got $200 a month back just by selling that car. And as time went on, we paid off a private loan that we had that had a minimum monthly payment of $130 per month. And so by the time we did those two things, we paid off, or I'm sorry, we sold the car for $200 a month, and then we paid off the loan at $130 a month. You take those two numbers and add it to the $218 we were already saving, and we were now up to $548 per month being saved. That is a pretty substantial amount of money. As you'll see in a moment, or if you look down at the very next cell, my other car payment was only $403 a month. I was now saving more money than the car payment was. It's a pretty radical number, $548 a month. So after that happened, my wife and I got really crazy. Then we were like, okay, let's finally get rid of the satellite. We were out of contract, and we decided, let's get rid of the satellite. We'll replace it with Hulu Plus, and we'll have an $8 subscription instead of a $70 subscription. And of course, by getting rid of the satellite, I also avoided the $300 upcharge for my football subscription every year. So we were just saving money left and right. It kind of became a game to us. Where can we, either eliminate or reduce our expenses? So we got rid of the satellite and saved ourselves another $70 a month. And a few months later, we paid off the second car, and we got our $403 car payment back in our pockets. So if you are a math nerd like I am, and you've been keeping track, we first saved $218, then we got up to $548, and finally we are now saving, with everything eliminated, $1,021 per month. I want to take a moment and let that sink in. $1,000 a month I now have back in my pocket to do bigger and better things with. Think about all the crap, because that's what it was. Think about all the crap that $1,000 was going to. Credit monitoring subscriptions, cell phone bills, more car insurance than I needed, more cars than I needed, more cell phones than I needed. $1,021 a month. So you might ask yourself, though, so what? You had nice things. You had some stuff to show for it. What are you going to do with that money now? I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with that money now. At $1,021 a month, I could invest that. So first I want to share with you what I might invest it in. So there's a good chance that I would invest it in a mutual fund, because that's what Dave Ramsey teaches, and that's what I'm interested in. Mutual funds are safer than single stocks. This I'll show you in a minute what this particular mutual fund is made up of. But before I go there, I want to show you something. Dave Ramsey talks about earning 12% on your invested money. And a lot of people will claim you can't get 12% on your investments. Well, I'm about to prove all of them wrong right now. I'm on Vanguard's website. I'm looking at a Vanguard mutual fund. I'm specifically looking at large cap mutual fund, which is going to be made up of your bigger players, your Walmarts of the world, your Apples, your Coca-Colas, those type of companies. Okay, I want you to take a look at this particular fund right here, this Windsor fund. This fund has been around since 1958. So this is not something new. This isn't something that sprung up 5 years ago and just has had good performance over the last 5 years. This fund has been around. It's been around longer than I have. Since its inception, its average annual return since its inception is 11.6%, just shy of 12%. It's going to have some good years. It's going to have some bad years. Over the last 10 years, it averaged 7.33%. But if you really take a look at this, that's between the years of 2004 and 2009, which is going to include 2008, the big dip in the market. Over the last 5 years, it's been averaging 15.9%. And last year alone, it made 14%. So you can get an average of 12% return on your money. It can happen. This is just one fund under their large cap selection. If you go down, I've already sorted it by how much each fund has made. And so this fund's made 12%, this one's made 11, 11, 10, 10, 10, 10, and so on and so forth. If you go down to their mid-cap funds, they have funds making 23%. Now that's a much newer fund, and it's mid-cap, so there's more volatility, but that's almost double 12%. 20%, 11, 10, 10, and so on. If you look at their small cap funds, 23, 20, 15, 10, 9. The point is you can get 12% on your money. So that's the number we're going to use. We're actually going to use 11.6 because we're going to base it off of the Windsor fund that's been around since 1958. So if I go over to Dave Ramsey's website and I use his investing calculator, I want to show you something. Oh, please forgive me, I forgot. Let's take a closer look at the Windsor Fund for just a second. This is for any math nerds out there like me. If you look at this particular fund, you must, to enter into the fund, you must invest $3,000. So that would be your initial investment, and then you can invest however much you would like every month after that. The other thing I wanted to show you here is that this particular fund is made up of 139 different stocks. So instead of buying into one company like an Apple or a Walmart or a Coca-Cola and riding that one company's wave, this is made up of 139 different companies, so that if any one company takes a dump, the other 138 companies will keep it floating, will keep the fund floating and performing well. So I wanted to just kind of show that and show the importance of investing in mutual funds. Because here I'm investing in 139 different companies, not just one. So let's flip back over to Dave Ramsey's website, and let's play with some numbers. Okay? Let's take our $3,000 as our initial investment, because that's required. Let's say we were going to invest that for 5 years. We were going to invest it at 11.6% yearly, and we were going to contribute $1,021 per month, because remember, we just saved that by cutting expenses and paying off our debts. Let's say we were going to make that contribution every single month for the next 5 years. Over the next 5 years, we would have contributed $61,260. Our fund would be worth $82,000. That is a difference of $18,000. Now let's say in 5 years you wanted to take that $18,000 and you wanted to go buy a car with it in cash. Okay, so let's say you only had $60,000, or I'm sorry, the $61,000 that you invested. Let's say you never touched it again. You just let it sit and you were going to make that your retirement fund. I'm 35. I'm going to retire in 30 years, but remember, 5 of those years were wasted on just getting to $82,000. So let's say I invest that for 25 years at 11.6%, and I don't contribute another penny. So after 5 years, I'm done contributing. I'm not going to put another penny into it. That $61,000 will grow into $948,000 in that 25-year period. Now, let's say I don't even make 11%. Let's say I only make 7.33%. That was the 10-year average of the Windsor Fund over the last 10 years with that dip. I'd still have $357,000 after 25 years. Now, if you're really a math nerd like I am, you might be like, well, $357,000 is not that impressive over 25 years. What it does mean, though, is if you want to get there yourself, you would have to save $14,000 a year to get there by yourself. Or you could save $12,000 a year for 5 years and invest your money wisely, and it could grow for you. That is a ton of information. That is a lot to think about. So I kind of want to stop for a second, and I want to invite David and Jackie, who've been along for the ride with us, to ask any questions or to contribute any comments to the information shared.
I think it's really interesting looking at that, because I've seen some of that before. You showed something similar to that before to me, but every time I see it, it still like astonishes me how much money can grow if you're just doing the right things with it. So more than anything, it makes me anxious to get to that point, to be able to have that amount of money to put aside and let it grow and work for me without me even having to touch it.
Yeah. It's for me, it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling to think that we will sign up for a new car loan, a new car note, without really thinking about this is a financial term. And so forgive me to all the viewers who are like, wow, man, like you're your finance background into this and you're making it crazy. But here's the thing. It's called opportunity cost. And opportunity cost is just a fancy financial term for if you didn't spend your money here and you did something with your money over here, what's that opportunity cost? So once you spend it over here, so let's say you go and you get a car and you sign up for a car payment of $403 a month. That's $403 you cannot save into a mutual fund or invest into a mutual fund. And so your opportunity cost becomes $350,000 because you chose to buy the car instead of invest the money. Guys, you're missing out on great opportunity. I've been missing out on great opportunity. You know, the sad thing is, I learned this when I was 18 years old. I went to a school where I had to declare a major, and I declared a business major with an interest in finance. And so I took a finance course in high school, in my senior year of high school, that taught me this. But I didn't put it into practice back then. And it makes me sick to know that there are people out there still today who they just need to see it. They need to see what it really looks like. And they need a budget in order to see it. Once you put what your expenses are down on paper, you start to see, wow, you know what? I spend like $800 a month on food, grocery, and restaurant. I'm single. I'm not really single. I'm scenario, right? I'm single. Why am I spending $800 a month on food? It's because you're probably going out with all your friends and you want to like live it up, and there is room for that. You work hard for your money, and you should be able to enjoy it, but don't squander it away. See, Dave Ramsey shares this all the time, and I love it. It's, you know, money works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I can't do that. I can't work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Money never stops working. And so, yes, the stock market is volatile, and there are ups and there are downs. But over the long haul, 12% on your money. 12% on your money. Or you could pay a bank 12% on that car note. That's how the banks make their money. So that's what I really wanted to share tonight. I really wanted to share the budget again and just kind of the layout, but I really wanted to dive into expenses. I'll tell you what, and we can have a little bit of a dialogue around, you know, expenses, other expenses we could be getting rid of. But we don't miss it. My wife and I, we don't miss the satellite TV. I didn't miss having a cell phone. I had to get another cell phone because I do travel for work, and my wife was like, you're absolutely crazy if you think you're leaving this house without a way for me to contact you. So I had to get another cell phone. But I didn't have to go out and get a $400 cell phone. I didn't have to go get a free cell phone with a 2-year agreement in which I pay $20 extra every month to cover the cost of the phone. Don't miss it. I don't miss it. David, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think for me, I think it's getting into the mindset of, I think everyday normal people are, America's about instant gratification. So like we automatically will think about, what am I going to get right now? And we've talked about this before, where people automatically have the mindset of how much down, how much a month. rather than is my money working for me? Is my money doing something for me? Because I've heard that statement before. I've heard it from really wealthy people that have said, I can't work 24 hours a day, but my money can work for me 24 hours a day. And that's one of the key things that they attribute to their success is that they look at their lives and they say, would I rather have benefits later on in life in the long term where I can benefit it over a longer period of time, or would I want it right now? Right today or more recent, and it's the same thing as the vacation mentality. When people go on vacation, they are thinking about instant gratification. So they go, all right, so we're going to go on this trip, so this check, and we used to do it. We used to say, okay, so what checks are we going to get before then? Okay, so then we don't have to put any money. We can take this amount of money out of the check right before we leave on the trip. But then we come back and we'd be like, okay, guys, no one's eating out. We're not doing nothing because we're in a hole now. Mm-hmm. So because we went on the trip, whereas now we think about it in terms of if it's something that is far enough in advance that we can say, hey, we want to go on a trip. We want to do something that we're going to visit family members or someone's getting married or something's going on that we want to go to that. Then we at least in our budget can say, okay, how much money are we going to put towards that? And is it something that we can reduce from something else that we have that we know that we can kind of tighten our belts a little bit on those other things because we want the long-term gratification of being able to go do something that we like, that we want to have fun doing. And I think that it's the mentality of budget. If you think that a budget is going to be like, oh, I can't spend $1 here, or I can't do anything, or there's no money to do anything, that's the complete opposite of what a budget is. And we found that a budget really just helps us to keep us on track. So that when we go to spend money, we know, like, hey, where does this money come from? I know exactly where those dollars are going to come from. I know exactly that it's not affecting anything else in my bills or anything else that I'm going to do. And it's refreshing, but I think it's just getting people in that mindset of what do you want the overall outcome to be? Like, you're going to retire someday. You're going to want to still be able to live. You're going to still, what kind of lifestyle do you want to have when that happens? Do you want to make sure your kids are taken care of when those go on? Do you want to be able to teach them how to handle their finances so it isn't you taking care of them, it's them taking care of themselves, and hey, also them helping you not because they need to, but because they want to.
Yeah.
You know?
Have there been expenses that you guys have, and I should know the answer to this, but I don't. What expenses have you guys kind of cut out ever since being on a budget? Or at least reduced? Cut out and reduced. As they both think about, I don't know. What
I said to him, I was like, I don't know. He was like, really? Restaurants, I think, was probably the biggest thing because that's my love language. Food. I'm Italian, so you bring me to a nice restaurant, and I'm a happy girl. But that's been cut out. We now allot ourselves $100 a week. $100 every 2 weeks for going to a restaurant because we're out all day Sunday anyway, so we have to on Sundays. But we don't find ourselves, it's very rare we find ourselves eating out anymore, unless it's on Sundays. And it's not as bad as what you would think. I mean, to me it was horrible in my mind when I had initially thought about it because I'm tired sometimes and I don't want to do things. But somehow when you have that money there and you're saying, okay, well, what do we need this for? What's more important? Then you just do it, and it's not even as horrible as what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that's how I felt about the satellite. I know I had brought it up pretty early on. So we've been on this plan, like I said, about 18 months or so. And one of the first things I said is, hey, why don't we work our way to, let's get rid of the satellite. And I even went as far as to say, like, let's sell the TVs. Let's just not have TV in the house at all. To which I got really strange looks. My wife was like, I'm sorry, what? So it took a while. We didn't do it right away. First of all, we didn't do it because we were in contract. But I will suggest to anybody watching who might be in a contract, if look at the dollars. Look at the dollars. If it costs you $200 to break your contract, but you're in contract for another year and you're paying $100 a month, well, in 2 months you've made your money back. So don't just throw your arms up and you're like, oh, I'm in a contract. We were in a contract at $70 a month, another like 4 months, and it would cost us $150 to break the contract. So it just didn't make sense, and we weren't ready. So, so we moved on, and after the after everything had gone to like summer reruns, my wife came to me and she said, "Hey, I think it'll be okay. Let's get rid of the satellite, and with the caveat that if I really do miss it, we can get it back." And so I actually called and just suspended my programming for a while, so I wasn't being billed. And 3 months went by, and the new season of shows rolled in, and Hulu Plus was working just fine for us, or live TV over an antenna. And so we called up and we truly canceled, and we actually even had a credit on the account of $56, so it was nice to get $56 back, and we don't miss it. It's not missed. It is interesting, the timing, though, because she came to me, during the summer, just when football was about to come, training camp and everything. And so then it was like a gut check. Was I ready? Was I really ready to let go? And so, I do like my football, so I replaced the $300 subscription with a $40 subscription. I can't watch the games live. I have to watch them after the fact. But I got $260 back, or I saved myself $260 by switching the subscription type. When we got rid of the cell phone, I didn't miss that, and we got the nice cell phone for my wife so that she had the latest Samsung and all those different things. But over Black Friday, we decided, leading into Black Friday, we decided to sell a couple of things. And we decided to sell the iPad that we've had for 3 years, and we sold a camera that we have that we never use, and we made a quick $400. And so my wife was asking me if it was time to finally upgrade my cell phone, because I may have shared this before, may not, but this was my old cell phone. It was like a $15 cell phone, one of those flip things. Like, it makes calls and it texts messages. It wasn't, I didn't need a $400 phone. But as it is, I do like some nice things. So I wanted a smartphone. So going into Black Friday, we took some of that money that we made from those items that we sold, and I got myself a brand new smartphone. And it's Android, and it does everything an Android would do. And so the things that I like voice to text, or the fact that I can just talk to Google and I can say, hey, what's the current weather like? And then she talks back to me and she's all like, oh, it's 76 degrees in Budgie. I'm like, it's not Budgie, it's Buckeye. But that's fine. That phone cost me $25, plus I had a $10 coupon. So it was normally a $60 phone. It's a prepaid phone, but I don't have prepaid service. I was able to take it to my service carrier and add it on as a regular phone. So it's regular phone, unlimited talk, unlimited text, unlimited data. Normally $60, on sale Black Friday $25, plus I had a $10 coupon, so I got that phone for $15. Not $15 down with a 2-year contract, not $15 a month added to my bill to pay off the phone. $15. The phone is mine. I'm not in a contract. Android does everything I need it to do. It just doesn't bear one of the names of those fancy schmancy companies. That's it. So anything else that we can talk about, cutting expenses or selling stuff to increase the income? Because those are the two fastest ways to get yourself out of debt. If you want to get out of debt, you need to be putting more money towards your debt. And I've freed up $1,021, so I'm getting myself out of debt really quickly. David, Jackie, anything else? No? All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it then for this tonight's episode of Living Debt Free. As always, I'm your host, Coach Nino Villa, and we will see you Thursdays at 8:30, 7:30 Central. In the meantime, request your free budgeting session using the link provided in the description. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to leave your comments and questions below. We'll see you again next week.